I slept under the roller coaster because it still smelled faintly of grease and old rainwater, and because the steel beams above me groaned in the wind like something alive. You learn to listen when you live outside. The city had taught me that. The park taught me something else. Rex lifted his head before I heard anything. That was always how it went. His ears twitched, one paw sliding forward in the dirt, body going still in that way that meant wrong. Not danger exactly, just wrong. "Easy," I whispered, my voice dry from the night. I scratched behind his ear. "It's just the wind." But the wind didn't knock over a food cart. The cart sat 50 feet away near the cracked midway, paint flaking, wheels rusted into place. It tipped over on its side with a metallic scream, then slid another foot across the concrete as if someone had shoved it. There was no one there, no footsteps, no shadows moving the wrong way. Rex growled low in his chest. I sat up slowly, every old injury in my body complaining. The abandoned theme park stretched out around us, collapsed fences, dead rides, cartoon mascots bleached white by sun and time. It had been closed for years after a kid died on one of the attractions. I didn't know if that was true. Stories cling to places like this, whether they earn them or not. Another sound followed. Laughter. Not close. Echoing. The hollow kind that bounced off metal and concrete and came back wrong, stretched thin. Children's laughter, but slowed, like it was being dragged through water. I stood. "Rex," I said, quieter now. "Heal." He didn't listen. He was staring toward the funhouse. The funhouse doors, red and yellow ones, now blistered and gray, shuttered. One door banged inward, then outward. Then both doors slammed open hard enough to crack the frame. Something moved inside. Not a shape, a pressure. The air bent. Dust lifted off the floor and spiraled, caught in an invisible fist. A cracked mirror inside exploded outward, glass spraying the entryway. I backed up instinctively, heart hammering, every survival instinct screaming at me to leave. I'd lived through winters under bridges, through nights when men with knives thought I was easy. I knew when to run. Then I heard screaming. Real screaming. Adult voices this time. From deeper in the park. Rex barked once, sharp, urgent, and took off. "Rex!" I shouted. He didn't slow. I ran after him, boots slapping concrete, lungs burning as we passed shuttered game stalls and broken lights. The screaming grew louder, mixed now with shouting and the unmistakable crash of something heavy being thrown. We rounded the corner near the old carousel. 3 people were trapped there, 2 men and a woman. Tourists by the look of them, cameras still hanging useless from their necks. The carousel horses were tearing themselves loose from their poles, spinning violently, slamming into one another. One horse flew free entirely, smashing into a man's leg and sending him sprawling. Above them, the air twisted. You couldn't see it, not properly, but you could see what it did. Poles bent, lights shattered. The woman was lifted off the ground, feet kicking, hair whipping straight upward as if she were underwater. Rex planted himself between me and the thing and barked like he was trying to tear the sky open. I grabbed the closest thing I could, a rusted crowbar, and shouted, my voice cracking, "Hey!" The air snapped toward me. The pressure hit my chest like a punch. I flew backward, slammed into a ticket booth, ribs screaming. The crowbar ripped from my hand and embedded itself into the concrete wall beside my head, vibrating violently. The thing noticed me now, and it was angry. I dragged myself upright, blood in my mouth, eyes locked on the chaos as Rex lunged forward, teeth snapping at nothing, and somehow connecting. He yelped, skidded sideways, but stayed on his feet. The woman screamed again. I staggered forward. I didn't know what I was fighting. I only knew one thing. If I ran now, they would die. And whatever lived in this park would keep feeding. I tightened my fists and stepped into the storm. The air fought me immediately. Every step felt like wading upstream in a river that hated me, pressure shoving at my shoulders, my skull buzzing as if my teeth were vibrating loose. Loose debris lifted around me, paper cups, Shattered bulbs, a child's plastic crown, circling faster and faster. "Get down!" I yelled, though I wasn't sure they could hear me. The woman dropped suddenly, slamming onto the platform hard enough to knock the breath out of her. One of the men scrambled toward her, dragging her by the arm. The other just stood there, frozen, eyes wide, mouth opening and closing like a fish. Rex charged again. Something invisible hit him mid-run and flung him sideways. He rolled hard, yelped, then tried to stand and failed, front leg folding under him. That did it. I grabbed a broken carousel pole, splintered wood, heavy, still bolted to a chunk of metal, and swung it like a bat straight into the empty space where the air felt thickest. The impact jarred my arms numb, but there was resistance, not solid, more like hitting a mattress wrapped in steel cables. The pressure recoiled. Lights burst overhead, plunging the carousel into strobing darkness. Music crackled to life from the old speakers, warped, slowed carnival music that crawled under my skin. The thing screamed. Not with a mouth, with the park itself. Every bolt rattled, every loose panel shook. The funhouse mirrors across the midway shattered in unison. I swung again, and again. My shoulders burned. My hands blistered instantly. Each strike felt like I was pushing it back an inch at a time, nothing more. "Move!" I shouted at the tourists. "Now!" They didn't need telling twice. They ran. The pressure surged toward me, furious now, focused. I felt hands that weren't hands wrap around my chest, squeezing, lifting my feet off the ground. My vision tunneled. Black spots swam. Rex barked, hoarse, desperate. Then he bit. Not air, not pressure. Something real. The grip loosened just enough for me to crash down on one knee. I sucked in a ragged breath and slammed the pole straight down into the carousel platform, wedging it between boards and metal like a lever. The thing pulled. The park resisted. Wood screamed. Bolts tore loose. The pressure spasmed, unfocused, thrashing wildly now, tearing at everything instead of just me. I crawled, hands and knees, toward Rex. He dragged himself, whining, but still baring his teeth at nothing, refusing to turn his back. I grabbed his collar and hauled him with me, every muscle in my body shaking. Behind us, the carousel collapsed. Horses smashed apart, poles snapped, the music cut off mid-note. And then, silence. The kind that rings. I didn't stop moving until we were behind the maintenance building. Both of us pressed into the dirt, my arms wrapped around Rex like he was the only solid thing left in the world. The screaming had stopped. That was what scared me most, because I could still feel it. Waiting. The funhouse swallowed sound the way a cave does. Every noise stretched thin, bent, fed back wrong. The laughter track hiccuped, slowed, then restarted at a higher pitch, like it was being dragged through mud. I didn't rush in. That's how people get killed. I crouched near the entrance, pressing my back to the peeling clown mural, and listened. Rex sat tight against my leg, hackles up, teeth showing just a little. Good dog, smarter than most men I'd known. Inside, something slammed hard enough to make the mirrors shiver. A voice sobbed. Female, older teen maybe, pleading in short, breathless bursts. Another voice answered her, calm, reassuring, too calm. I leaned forward and whispered, "That's not a person." The answering voice repeated itself, word for word. Same cadence, same pause, like a recording played through a mouth that didn't understand meaning. I stepped in. The air changed immediately, cooler, heavier. The smell of dust and old water gave way to something sharp, electric. The mirrors lining the corridor were clouded, warped, but as I passed them, my reflection didn't keep up. It lagged, twitched, smiled when I didn't. I didn't look again. "Hey," I called softly, keeping my voice steady. "You're gonna be okay. Stay where you are." The sobbing hitched. Footsteps scrambled. It's right here," the girl whispered. "It's everywhere." The lights flickered on by themselves, not all at once, one bulb at a time, marching down the hall ahead of me, lighting a path I hadn't chosen. Rex stopped. His growl deepened, vibrating up through my bones. He was staring at the mirrors now, at all of them. They were moving, not the reflections. The glass itself bowed inward, as if pressed from the other side. Handprints bloomed across the surface, dozens of them, stretching, sliding, smearing without ever breaking through. "Back," I whispered. The floor lurched. I went down hard as gravity twisted sideways. Rex yelped, claws scraping. The mirrors screamed, a sound like glass being bent instead of broken, and then they let go. Everything snapped back. Ahead, the girl burst out of a side corridor and ran straight into me. She slammed into my chest, knocking the breath out of both of us. I wrapped an arm around her before she could bolt again. "It's not done," she gasped. It likes when you run." Behind us, the laughter cut off mid-giggle. Silence. Then, the mirrors all turned black at once. Something stepped forward out of them, not fully visible, not solid, but heavy enough that the floor groaned under its attention. The pressure hit my head like a migraine made of hands. Rex lunged, barking, snapping at empty air. And the thing snapped back. Rex was thrown against the wall like he weighed nothing. He hit hard and slid down, stunned. "No!" I shouted, rage punching through fear. I grabbed the nearest fire extinguisher, yanked the pin, and unloaded it straight into the dark space where the thing felt thickest. White foam exploded everywhere, coating mirrors, floor, air. The pressure screamed. Not out loud. Inside my teeth. The thing recoiled, thrashing blind, and for the first time, I felt it lose control. "Run!" I yelled at the girl. "Don't stop!" She ran. I dragged myself toward Rex, scooped him up despite the pain, and back toward the exit as the funhouse tore itself apart behind us. Mirrors shattering, laughter warping into static, the poltergeist slamming against walls it could no longer see. We burst out into the open night just as the entire funhouse collapsed inward with a sound like a building exhaling its last breath. I didn't look back. I just ran, barefoot, bleeding, carrying my dog, until the park lights vanished and the screaming finally stopped. The wind changed. That was how I knew it was coming before I heard anything, before the gravel shifted, before the metal somewhere deep in the park let out a long, exhausted groan. The air rolled toward us, cold and damp, carrying the smell of old water and burned wiring. Rex's ears went flat. "Stay," I whispered to him, though I didn't know if he understood the word or just the fear in my voice. The girl, her name was Lila, I'd learned that much in the running, grabbed my sleeve. "It's following us, isn't it?" "No," I said, even as my eyes stayed locked on the fence. "It's circling." The chain link rattled once. Not from pressure, from touch, like something dragging fingers along it, testing where it gave, where it sang. I forced myself not to move, not to react. The thing inside the park wanted motion, wanted noise, wanted us to confirm we were still prey. Seconds stretched thin. Then the sound came. Footsteps. Not heavy, not light, too even, too deliberate. They moved parallel to us, just inside the fence, crunching through gravel and glass that shouldn't have held any weight at all. Lila's breathing hitched. I leaned close and whispered, "When I say run, you don't stop. Don't look back. Don't listen. If you hear your name." "I know," she said, tears streaking down her face. "It already tried." The footsteps stopped. For a heartbeat, the world held its breath. Then the voice came from behind us, soft and wrong and kind. "Hey, buddy." My stomach dropped. It was my voice. Not a perfect copy, too flat, stretched in places, but close enough that for half a second my body tried to turn before my brain screamed, "No." Rex growled, low and savage. I hurled the extinguisher over the fence without warning. It hit something solid with a hollow, ringing clang, and the air folded. That's the only way I can describe it. Like the space around the impact collapsed inward, sucking sound and light into a tight knot. The scream that followed wasn't human. It wasn't even sound the way we understand it. It was pressure, like hands clamping around my skull, squeezing from the inside out. Lila dropped to her knees, screaming, blood running from her nose. "Run!" I shouted. We bolted. Branches tore at us as we plunged into the tree line, the park disappearing behind us in fragments of shadow and steel. Something smashed into the fence, hard enough to bow the metal outward. I heard Rex yelp once, then his paws thundered beside me again. The woods didn't welcome us. Roots tripped us. Thorn vines clawed skin. The dark pressed close, thick and alive, but it was still better than what followed. Because the thing didn't chase. It hunted. I could feel it sliding between spaces, cutting angles we couldn't see, learning the forest the way it had learned the rides. Somewhere to our left, a branch snapped. Not from weight, but from arrival. Lila sobbed as we ran. "It's everywhere." "No," I said, forcing breath into my chest. "It just wants you to think that." The ground dropped suddenly, and we tumbled into a shallow ravine choked with ferns and rotting leaves. I rolled hard, slamming my shoulder into stone, stars exploding behind my eyes. Rex landed beside me, snarling into the dark. Above us, something moved. Not walking, unfolding. The air shimmered, bending around a shape that refused to settle into one form. Faces flickered across it. Mine, Lila's, someone older, someone screaming, peeling away and reforming like wet paper. I grabbed a rock and threw it straight through the distortion. It passed through, then stopped. The thing caught it. The forest went silent. Then it stepped down into the ravine with us, and the ground remembered gravity all at once. Rex lunged. I didn't think. I just followed, screaming, heart splitting open with fear and rage, and the sick certainty that if we stopped moving, if we hesitated even for a second, the park would get new residents. And it would never let them leave.